Hey, are you looking for a tasty snack to enjoy with some homebrew? You've selected the correct video. Today we're going to make soft pretzels. I was inspired to make these soft pretzels after reading the experience another homebrewer had making them to enjoy with his beer. So I decided to try out the recipe for myself. This recipe is adapted from the website Sally's Baking Addiction, which I'll link the original recipe to in the description below this video. Hashtag Sally's Baking Addiction. There will also be a link to the Greens and Machines blog post, which will have more photos detailing how I made my pretzels. So let's get started then. To make soft pretzels, you will need the following: a cup and a half of warm water, a packet of dry yeast or 2 1/4 teaspoons, a teaspoon of fine salt, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, a tablespoon of melted butter or margarine, 3 3/4 cups of flour for the pretzels, plus you'll need a little bit more for rolling out the dough. And you will also need sea salt for sprinkling. Sally's recipe calls for coarse sea salt, but I did not have any at the time when I was making my pretzels, so I used some fine salt. You will also need to make a baking soda bath. For the baking soda bath, I did not have a pot big enough for the full amount of water to baking soda ratio as described in her recipe, so I halved the amounts and this didn't have any problem at all in the recipe. I used a 1/4 cup plus a teaspoon of baking soda and 5 cups of water. Kitchen equipment you'll need include a large mixing bowl, a few baking trays, a cutting board which you will flour, a slotted spatula, a wooden spoon, some measuring cups and spoons, parchment paper, and a saucepan for the baking soda bath. Now let's get to baking. As with most bread recipes, we first need to activate the yeast. Mix together the 1 1/2 cups of warm water with the yeast together in the mixing bowl. Allow that to sit for a few minutes. While waiting, this is a good time to melt your butter. Add in the brown sugar, salt, and melted butter to the water and yeast mixture. Stir that all together. Now start incorporating the flour into the mixture. Sally's recipe calls to do this 1 cup at a time, which helps to keep the dough from becoming too tough if you add it all at once. Once all the flour is mixed in, I usually give the dough a once-over to knead in as much of the flour as I can before I let the dough sit. The dough shouldn't be sticky at this point and should be slightly firm to the touch. Cover the dough and allow the dough to rise for about 10 minutes. While waiting for the dough to rise, now is a good time to preheat the oven. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Take 2 sheets of parchment paper and line 2 standard baking sheets. Now to prepare the baking soda bath. As I mentioned before, I didn't have a pot big enough to do a full 9 cups of water and half a cup of baking soda, so I used this small saucepan to prepare a solution with half those quantities. That mixture will need to be brought to a boil, so go ahead and preheat it now. If it starts boiling but the dough is not ready, allow this bath to simmer while you prepare your pretzels. Once the dough has risen, knead it a bit on the cutting board. Use the knife to divide the dough into 3 even sections. Set 2 of the sections aside and work one of the portions into a long rope. Now divide that rope into 2 halves. Roll out each half and then divide the 2 ropes in half again. Roll out one of the 4 ropes individually and form a pretzel knot with each section of dough. Now Sally did her knots a bit differently than I did, but I think the end result will still look and taste just as delicious. Bring that soda bath back to a boil. Take each pretzel, 1 or 2 at a time, and place them in the bath for 20 to 30 seconds. Any longer than that and they will have off flavors after being baked. Use the slotted spatula to remove the pretzels. Allow the moisture to come off each pretzel before placing them on the parchment paper lined baking trays. Once the pretzels are on the baking trays, salt the pretzels with the sea salt. I didn't have coarse sea salt as I mentioned before, so I used fine salt for my pretzels. And I actually forgot to salt the pretzels on this first tray, but that's okay if you don't want salt on your pretzels. Place the pretzels in the preheated oven and bake for about 10 to 15 minutes. While those pretzels baked, I prepared the next 4 pretzels for the oven. Now for the second tray, I did coat the pretzels with some fine salt before putting them in the oven. Okay, now the first tray of pretzels is complete. They should be a nice golden brown when baking is complete. Let's finish up the rest of these pretzels and then go enjoy them with a nice homebrew. Look at how perfect that one is. There you have it. a dozen freshly baked and delicious pretzels. Now I wish I had a nice cheese dipping sauce to go with these, but for now I can enjoy them without that. I hope you enjoyed this recipe as much as I enjoyed baking and eating these pretzels. Did you try out this recipe? Leave a comment below and tell us how your pretzels turned out. And remember, do like and share this video, and be sure to subscribe to be notified of the latest videos.